Astral podcast. I'm your host, Eric Malachite, and tonight we're going to be talking about a book, one that is credited as being the first cyberpunk novel. We're talking about Neuromancer, which is written by William Gibson, and it was actually his debut novel at the time in 1984. Funny thing is, he was commissioned to write the book and given a year to do so by Ace Science Fiction. And a third of the way through, Blade Runner came out, and Gibson thought that Neuromancer was sunk, it was done, that people were going to think he was a hack. He actually rewrote the first third of the novel at least 12 times because he was worried about how it would be received. But when it came out, it wasn't greeted with a fanfare or anything like that, but it hit a cultural nerve, quickly becoming an underground word-of-mouth hit. It's also the first novel to win the Nebula, the Hugo, and the Philip K. Dick Award for paperback original. That's kind of an unprecedented achievement. Must have been in the consciousness, this style of writing. I mean, the dialogue and the cinematography in Blade Runner, the imagery, at least the imagery described in his novel, is also something that's very prevalent in the graphic novels of the early 80s and late 80s era. That alone is really interesting. Anyways, Neuromancer follows a man named Henry Dorset Case. They just call him Case for short. He's sort of an anti-hero. He's a drug addict and a cyberspace hacker known as a cowboy. Prior to the start of the book, he attempted to steal from one of his partners in crime, and they basically ruined his ability to jack into the internet. What's funny about this book is that it also created a lot of terminology that we use for the internet too. And it's a book that I've wanted to read for about 10 years, but I've never been able to find it. Yeah, I could have ordered it online, and it's kind of weird that I wanted to find it in a bookstore, but I finally did. And that moment when I saw Neuromancer on the shelf was sheer fucking joy. I picked it up, I knew I had to buy it, I brought it home and started reading it that night. This book even inspired large portions of The Matrix. It refers to The Matrix as, the green lines of code and everything, the screens of code that are shown in the Matrix films. This book does that. It's kind of funny. Molly, she's known as a Razor Girl. She's recruited to work alongside with Case by a man named Armitage, who's very mysterious. Essentially, this is a heist novel about freeing an AI, and I'm not really going to go into details because I think everyone should give this book a read. It's pretty important. I don't care how long it takes you to read it, just do it. It's only about 270 pages. It's a quick read, but you need to be reading close because things happen quickly. Scenes change quickly, so you need to be paying attention. This isn't a book that you can fall asleep on the toilet reading. I've never done that, by the way. That just popped out randomly. So Razor Girl means that she's got 4-centimeter double-edged blades hidden under her fingernails, which can be used like claws. She also has an enhanced reflex system and implanted mirrored lenses covering her eye sockets. Very interesting imagery, and she reminds me a lot of what's her name? Trinity from The Matrix that Neo falls in love with and all that good shit. She's basically the prototypical cyberpunk female lead. She's got a bit of Major Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell in her, as well as a lot of things about Trinity. Except she's a lot more interesting than Trinity. I don't know about Major Kusanagi because Major Kusanagi has a deep and layered backstory and a very mysterious backstory too. One of these days we got to get into Ghost in the Shell, but that would require me actually having to finish the graphic novel because all I've really seen is the original movie and bits and pieces of Standalone Complex, and I haven't finished a Standalone Complex either, so sue me. But yeah, a lot of great colorful characters, great scenery. The only thing that I found to be a bit of an issue is its fast pacing. I wish that we could have spent a little more time, or that William Gibson could have spent a little more time setting scenes rather than just pushing the plot ahead. Even though it's very effective, I would have liked to know more about some of these characters, other than the core 4 characters like Case, Molly, Armitage, Wintermute, and Peter Riviera. Riviera is a thief. He's a sadist, and he can project holographic images using his implants. He is a drug addict hooked on a mix of cocaine and meperidine. There are a ton of locations. They go to different colonies in space. I believe they went to the moon at some point. I mean, I read this thing so fast that it's almost a blur. I need to go back and read it again, because it's that good. And I'm surprised that they haven't made a movie about Neuromancer. It would be a great plot. I mean, it could be updated for today's standards as far as futuristic futuristic technology can look and should look fairly easily, I think. I'm almost shocked no one's tried to adapt this. And maybe they have, but as far as I know, it's never been done, which is a shame, because we just had a Blade Runner sequel, which I also have not seen yet, because I feel obliged, if I'm going to watch a Blade Runner sequel, that I need to sit down and figure out which version of Blade Runner I need to watch again. Probably the final cut. It's a lot like a crime novel. It really is. And there's a bit of a hint of mystery. A lot of people like to credit this as being a really great mystery, but it's more of a heist novel. I had a really great time with this book, and I think more people need to read this. It's not underrated. It's definitely won its share of rewards, but I have met like maybe a handful of people that have actually read it, and now I'm part of that handful of people that have read it. So do yourself a favor and pick this up. Anyway, I think, without getting into spoilers or anything else, it's obvious that Neuromancer has made an impact on my life, even if I didn't even realize it at the time. So you guys should go ahead and check it out as well. And if you like this podcast, if you like what I do here, go ahead and give me a like, comment, or subscribe. Ring that bell, because YouTube is stupid. And make sure you check out my Patreon at patreon.com/EricMalachite. See about becoming a patron, where I write 1 to 2 short stories a month in the genres of cosmic horror, dark fantasy, and dark science fiction. Maybe some cyberpunk in the future too. $1 goes a long way, and $5 goes even further than that. You get tons of different rewards doing so, and I've got some new stuff, some cool stuff that I'm thinking of for future goals. Anyways, I will see you next time on Into the Astral Lands podcast.